Hey everyone, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple, a series that we created that takes a look at ideas surrounding natural health topics, and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps. My name is Brian Strickland. I'm joined today not by Ed Jones, but by Adam Chauncey. He's one of our staff members here at Nutrition World. He's a certified nutritionist, certified health coach. He walks the walk, he talks the talk, he knows what he's doing. So we're excited to have him on this episode today. New Year's resolutions are more than likely in full swing. Weight loss is nearly always at the top of the list for people when it comes to making changes for the new year. And that's what we wanted to speak about today. Now, sadly, there's no magic pill. There's not a magic pill that's going to make you lose weight. It requires hard work, dedication, paying attention to your diet, exercising. But with that being said, there are some supplements that can help you along the way. And Adam has a list for us today that kind of breaks down a few of his favorites, some that are popular and maybe not all that effective. We do want to talk about that as well. So Adam, before we get started, could you just give us a brief introduction into who you are and what you do here at Nutrition World?
Yeah, I wear a lot of hats. I've been here for a little over 4 years now, but I primarily see consults in the back. You can sometimes find me on the floor, but most of the time I'm with somebody in my office. And like Brian said, I'm a certified nutritionist and certified health coach. I also currently run our weight loss clinic, but we are currently training a new weight loss coach that will be taking over our weight loss clinic, which will be relaunching in March, so that's exciting. But in the meantime, I just see most of our clients that come in that need some nutritional consultation help. We partner with multiple clinics around the area, multiple practitioners that send their patients here. So anything from meal planning to off-the-wall stuff. I mean, you name it, we try to facilitate it and make it happen, get people in better shape and help them get the weight off, or in some cases gain good weight, gain a muscle, burn a fat. That's the name of the game. It's what I like to do. So, I kind of do a little bit of all that stuff.
Sweet. So we have a list here. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes of some of your favorite supplements that can aid.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to make you lose weight, but they can help with that.
Yes.
We want to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
So we're just going to run down the list, I think, here, starting with apple cider vinegar. And not just any apple cider vinegar, but apple cider vinegar with mother.
With the mother, yes. So that's that apple cider vinegar that looks nasty. It's the one that has the pieces of fermented apple in with it. Looks kind of like dust or dirt or whatever in there, and it kind of tastes like it too, mixed with vinegar. So it's not the most tasty thing you could take to help, get the weight loss goals moving. But I actually wrote an article on this a while back. Apple cider vinegar has been tested for, years and has so many different modalities. So weight loss wise, it can help reduce blood sugar by 20 to 40% after a meal. I mean, it's pretty impressive stuff if you don't mind drinking it.
Yeah.
And of course we do offer the pills, but I'll be the first to tell you that they do not work as well. You can definitely take pills, and if you take them daily and you're really religious with them, you'll probably see a difference, but the liquid just works better. And it's, the old saying is true, if it tastes bad, it's probably good for you, and that's the case with vinegar. It's going to taste bad, but it will help. And like Brian said earlier, it is not a magic bullet, but cost-wise, you're looking at pennies per dose. And if you can just tolerate the taste, mix it with a little water, a little lemon, and just shoot it back a couple times a day before a couple of big meals or before dinner. If you're going out to eat, you're not going to behave. Well, then go ahead and do a little bit of damage control and take some vinegar, and it will make a difference.
So is this primarily just for glucose control?
Primarily, which I would argue is the main driver of obesity and metabolic dysfunction in the U.S., considering that 88% of U.S. adults have glucose dysregulation or hyperinsulinemia or insulin resistance. There's many different names, but it all means the same thing. And if your blood sugar is out of whack, well, since your insulin has to perform to bring that blood sugar down, well, insulin gets out of whack, and then once that gets out of whack, it's a long road to recovery, but it can be done.
So, like, in comparison with something like Berberine, is this comparable?
Similar. So Berberine performs fairly well in its own clinical trials. It's what you call a AMPK activator, which you don't need to know what all that means, but it's the exact same mechanism of action that metformin takes, the glucose control drug.
Okay.
And it performs very closely. I mean, it's neck and neck in the research. So they work really similarly. And that's more of a blunt force object to kind of get it back in control.
Okay.
And it is quite a bit more expensive per serving. You're looking at about $1 per serving or $1 a day roughly with Berberine, which is still a lot cheaper for most folks than even metformin. But you can definitely do both, because Berberine is going to work on the back end, help with insulin. Mm-hmm. Apple cider vinegar is going to help on the front end and help deload glucose. Okay. So the more work you can take away from insulin, the less insulin you're going to need anyway. And then if you add the insulin control products with that, then you're going to further that. Okay. It's all about that kind of cascade.
No, yeah, perfect. That makes sense. All right, next up is something called CLA, or conjugated linoleic acid, right?
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am a biology major. I should know how to pronounce things.
Nice.
So yeah, CLA, tell us about that. What's so important about it?
Yeah, that's one of my old dogs in the blog I'm writing. It is been around. I mean, it's been around forever. It's older than I am. Bodybuilders were one of the first ones to really start using it back in the 80s and 90s. And it's a medium chain triglyceride, similar to MCT oil, if you've heard about that. A little different in the way that in the mechanism of action there. It helps to reduce fat cell size, reduce a little bit of that hypertrophy that fat cells, or that growth that fat cells will go through. It helps make them more available to burn, which is similar to what MCT oil does. And it doesn't really do a whole lot of anything else. I mean, just about anybody can use it. It does have a little bit of a weird interaction with some diabetics, so I don't typically recommend it for diabetics. But outside of that, it seems to work great. You'll never know you're taking it. If you do take it, you just pop 2 to 4 grams of it a day, which is anywhere from 3 to sometimes 6 pills, and rocking and rolling.
All right, cool. Next up is carnitine, not creatine.
Carnitine. Yes.
All right, tell us about carnitine.
Carnitine's probably my favorite, or it's right up there. Carnitine's been around. It's another one that's been around for a very long time. Yeah. It's an amino acid. We can make it endogenously or inside the body. The best source of it is meat, muscle meat, and that's any kind of meat. Chicken's lower than beef, but beef would be the best. And carnitine, it acts as kind of like a shuttle, so it'll shuttle fat into the mitochondria for fuel. So it kind of helps convert that fat to usable fuel. That's an oversimplification, but for the sake of this argument, that's the best, in my opinion, actual fat burner. So because it actually it helps to metabolize fat. Right, it is the primary mover there. So carnitine is used for so many different things, for brain function, energy production, fat metabolism, exercise recovery, you name it. It's beneficial for nerve health. I mean, it does so much stuff. And when you pair carnitine with a healthy fat like omega-3s, actually in the research, it shows even more of an impact. So you can take, you should be taking your fish oil anyway, but if you're not, it's a really good reason to take fish oil, because these two are both cheaper than your standard, hydroxycut hardcore or something like that for daily doses, and they're going to be a lot more effective long term and a lot easier on your heart. Actually protective for your heart.
And are we talking pills, powders, liquid for carnitine?
Yeah, all of them. They all work. I sold some liquid carnitine today. It's a lot cheaper per dose than the powder, but I mean, if you don't want to drink it, because it is a bit tart, as most amino acids are, the pills work great. Powder, we have a powder here that it's a running joke. First time I ever used it, I took a scoop of it, didn't think it was doing anything. About 30 minutes later, I'd soaked through my shirt. I was a cold sweat. I was like, what's going on? I thought I was getting sick. But I have a lot of athletes that I train for competition and different stuff, their food as well, that come in here, and it's a staple every spring. It's what they start on to start that fat loss metabolism. And it's a little bit more drastic than just a regular carnitine powder. It has some other stuff in there, but it has no stimulants or anything, so you can take it whenever. But you're going to sweat.
All right. Well, last up for the ones that you do recommend is something really simple, and that's protein. And that may not be something that people think about for fat loss, but it is an effective tool, right?
Oh, yeah. It's another one that kind of hits it in a roundabout way. It's indirect, but it's extremely effective. Protein, I was actually talking to one of our employees today. None of us just about get enough protein. I see my predominant demographic of folks that I see are 40 to 65-year-old women, and unfortunately, the way the medical system is structured, women aren't told to eat enough protein by any means. So most of them are deficient in muscle mass, deficient in amino acids, and that's why collagen's been super popular.
Right.
And getting your protein in does so much aside from just maintain muscle mass. But if you're building muscle, if you're exercising and you're intaking protein, you're going to be burning fat in most cases unless you're just eating such a surplus of garbage calories that your body can't make up for it. But to expand on that further, when you're taking in protein, you're actually increasing your metabolism. Protein has the highest thermic effect of any of your macronutrients, meaning that it's going to require more energy to metabolize and utilize. So if you've ever heard of the meat sweats, that's kind of where that comes from. If you eat a lot of steak, if you're like me and you like to sit down and eat just a bunch of steak and eggs, then you get a little warm, a little hot under the collar by the end of the meal, and it's because, well, you just ate 6 eggs and about 12 ounces of steak.
Yeah.
And it's because your body's having to break that down. So that bumps your metabolism up. You start the fat burning process. If you worked out that day, which you should have, then you're recovering from that workout, you're repairing muscles, and you're using that stored fat to burn through and amp up that energy production. So, no, it's not direct, but once again, you're looking at $1.50 a day. I can do it, so it's obviously idiot proof to make a shake every day and just replace a meal with that for some people, or add it in, especially for some of my female listeners that are not getting enough protein, feel hungry, feel like cravings are the worst. You're probably not eating enough. Most of the time, 1 meal a day is not going to cut it. You might need to do a shake, do something else to bump it up. And if you're worried about it putting on excess weight, we'll go to the gym, and then any of that weight you put on will be just straight up muscle, and you'll get that good muscle tone coming through that everybody wants.
All right, so let's move on to maybe some that aren't necessarily your favorites.
Sure.
They may have a place in some strategies.
Yeah.
We'll be clear about that, but not necessarily the best options out there.
Right.
So first off, let's talk about Garcinia Cambogia. Now, this may not be something that everyone is familiar with, but maybe even just a few years back, this was something that was really popular. It was very trendy. Can you just explain a little about what it is and how it's supposed to work?
Yeah, so it's a flowering plant extract. I believe it comes from a type of cactus plant. I could be wrong on that, but it's just an extract. The research on it is skimpy, but there is some good research on it, and it's very particular with dosing. I believe you have to take a minimum of 3,000 milligrams a day, which in most cases is close to 6 pills, which isn't, it's pills. Nobody has around here just about has pill fatigue. It takes 74 pills a day, so if that tells you anything. But it does require, timing. You want to take it with every meal because it may help a bit with ramping up your metabolism. I believe it has a little bit of blocking effect when it comes to fat absorption, potentially. But once again, it's not directly causative. Like it's just a tough one, and it was made famous by Dr. Oz. We've sold out of it because of that many times. For some people, it seems to help a little bit with their blood sugar. For some people, the main benefit is appetite reduction.
Yeah.
And by all means, if it helps you with appetite reduction, then I'm all for it. But I'm more likely than not going to recommend protein or a nutrient that a lot of people are deficient in, a mineral called chromium, which also helps with regulating that blood sugar so you don't get those cravings. So I would probably recommend those over Garcinia, but Garcinia definitely, for some people, seems to be a little bit of a magic bullet. So it's always in there if we need to pull it out.
Okay, cool. I'm going to lump the next two together, and that's Thermogenics and Caffeine. Thermogenics have a lot of stimulants in them anyway, so we'll go ahead and lump caffeine in there as
Sure.
well. And thermos are something, I mean, when did these come on the market, really?
I mean, you've had, since the 50s, you've had like the speed balls and stuff like that. Before it was more, regulated. Back in the 50s, truckers started using these when we developed the interstate system. So they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And now you still see them, like the Stacker 2s and the Yellow Jackets and all those stuff in the gas station, heart attacks in a pill. And, so many have come and gone, like ephedra. Honestly, ephedra was one of my favorites, but, enough crazy people do too much of it and they die, and then it kind of ruins it for everybody, right? But ephedra was one of the last holdouts to, in my opinion, effective thermogenics.
Okay.
And then it's kind of petered out since then. Now you've just got companies like Hydroxycut and some of these other ones that ramp up the types of caffeine. There's many different types and metabolites of caffeine. I prefer natural caffeine, like from a whole food source like green tea. Most thermogenics do not have that. Most thermogenics are lab created caffeine. What's the word I'm looking for? Analogs.
Yeah.
So, but that's why they're so much more effective. Like they ramp you up so much more. And, some thermogenics, get roped in there and they're not necessarily bad. They'll have some good ingredients. So we have some thermos here that are lower caffeine, much higher in some of those other nutrients I was talking about, like chromium, like gymnema, which is another sugar lowering herb, cinnamon, and some other good nutrients too. And they'll have a little bit of caffeine just to give you a little bump. But no, most thermos are just 300 milligrams of caffeine. That seems to be the new thing with Bang energy drinks, especially. That are the more the merrier. And I'm here to tell you, I have a little bit of an ectopic heartbeat, a little bit of an arrhythmia maybe, and when I used to drink 1 or 2 of those a day, let me just say I'm probably paying for it now. So I try to stay away from the stimulants like that.
Yeah,
so
600 milligrams of caffeine is a lot.
that's a lot. Let me tell you, that was back, when I was still competing and doing stuff too. But I'm in better shape now than I was then without using any stimulants. So you don't need the stimulants for most of this stuff. Now, caffeine does have some actual thermogenic effects.
Yeah,
it will help a bit with ramping up fat metabolism, but mainly because it ramps up your heart rate, which gets your respiration up, and that's how you lose fat, not through perspiration, but respiration. So that's kind of how that works. And of course, there's all other kinds of stimulants we could go into, like Theobromine, which is a cocoa extract or cacao extract, and it's less of a heart stimulant, more of a CNS or central nervous system stimulant, so it kind of wakes you up without so much of the excitatory stimuli. So some of our thermogenics have that in it instead. So if you come in the shop and you pick something up, more likely than not, it's going to be a little lower on the caffeine, a little higher in some of the safer alternatives. But no, some people need it. Some people wake up at 4 a.m. and work out and want something other than black coffee.
True.
And fair enough. So as long as you're, in stable heart rhythm and you're not having to worry about any of that stuff, then by all means, try it out.
All right. Fair enough.
Be careful.
Well, I think that about wraps up our list. Are there any last words that you have? Say, someone's looking for a fresh start this year.
Yeah.
What are the absolute basic first steps and the absolute basic supplements that you would recommend to go along with those?
Sure. So my kind of foundation protocol I have for most of my clients that I see, protein is almost always one, because nobody eats enough protein, except for maybe me and a few other people, that's their whole shtick, right? So most people just don't get enough. So please get some protein. Even if you eat it, you don't have to buy it. Just eat it. Eat some more meat, or eat some beans, get organic, of course, grass-fed, all that good stuff local, but get some more protein in, because if you're hungry, it's not gonna work. You're going to fall off the wagon. I've done it plenty of times. That's what happens to everybody. So if you eat more protein is satiating. Protein in its natural form typically has some healthy fats with it. So that's going to help balance your blood sugar, slow down that digestion, which will keep your metabolism going good and keep your blood sugar regulated. So get more protein in. Number 2, I like a couple of the first ones we mentioned. Carnitine is inexpensive and extremely effective, and you can just throw it in your pill case and not think about it again.
Right.
Omega-3s, it's part of our core 4. throw it into pill case and forget about it. If you don't like fish, we can get you one that's not fish based, but the omega-3s, the carnitine, those are probably the two primary movers. And outside of that, I mean, if you like to make the shakes, I think everybody knows Ed's breakfast shake. He loves MCT oil, which is a really good way to get the brain burning that really good quality fuel called ketones, because MCT oil, the majority of about 50% of it converts to ketones, and your brain wants to fuel on that. And that ramps up downstream, of course, but ramps up your metabolism and your fat burning capability a little bit more, so you can go a little bit longer without eating or get through that workout a little bit better.
Right.
But those three would probably be my primaries. And, you know, if you can stomach it, if you don't have too much of an issue like stomach acid, some people are a little sensitive to it, but apple cider vinegar is cheap and it's effective. I mean, goodness, if you're not going to drink it, you can use it to clean the floor. But buy it and try it and see if you can't tell a difference after you eat. And last thing that I'll add is, I mean, there's some really good research on just walking 10 minutes after you eat. Just walk 10 minutes after you eat a meal, even if it's not your best work. If you fall off the wagon a little bit, you know, February is International Fall Off the Wagon month, so get started this month, and then next month, if you kind of fall off the wagon, we'll just get back on by walking after your meal. Okay, and just little steps like that are huge. If you need the extra help, come see us. I'd love to fit you in and get you on a good nutritional protocol. I can help you unpack all of this and get a good plan together. I promise I'm not going to force you to eat chicken and rice. I swear to you, you'll be able to eat more than that. I came from that, and I try to stay away from it. So we can work something with you. We can get you where you need to be. We can help you get to a better, healthier you in 2022. I need that.
Yeah, there you go. Copyright.
That's it.
All right, cool, man. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this week's Nutrition Made Simple. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. Like and subscribe. Turn on notifications. You'll get more content just like this each and every week. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.